Meeting to order. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service for November 3rd, 2020. I'm your current president, Ashley Wesley. That's my new name as of Saturday. Thank you for being here. Michael, please show our flag graphic for 15 seconds of respectful silence. Please remain on mute and take this time to personally reflect. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Maren McClelland, who will be offering our reflection.
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you all again. Today, I'm going to be reflecting a bit on the process, something that I learned before I went on my Rotary Youth Exchange. So before I went to Italy, Rotarians like yourselves gathered a group of students monthly, and they taught us different coping methods that we could use when facing cultural differences and language barriers. And one of those was called the 6 Bs. And so they are: be first, be of service, be in the moment, be curious, be on purpose, and be grateful. And using these were supposed to help us through challenging and difficult situations. And I remember the first time I used a be first, I was in my second day of Italian high school, and the students had introduced themselves to me, and I couldn't understand most of it. But I did understand one girl. She said one word, Calcinato, which was the town where I was living. And in that moment, I decided that I was going to ask her to go get gelato with me the next week so I could hopefully have a friend. And so I spent the next hour using my Italian to English dictionary to figure out the phrase. And then I spent the 3 hours after that double checking everything. And so the day after when class ended, I went up to her and I said, "Settimana prossima vuoi andare a prendere un gelato con me?" And I could tell that she knew what I said. And then I realized that she had to respond, and I had no idea what she would be saying. But thanks to the bees, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about putting myself out there and looking for opportunities. And we did end up going and getting gelato the week after, and I made a friend out of it. This year, it has been really difficult for me to use these, as it's been very challenging. But in preparation for this reflection, I was looking back on my 2020 diary entries, because it was my goal this year to write a bit more. And I wrote something that kind of shook me. It said, "I'm excited for the upcoming year. It will be a year of growth, change, and challenges." And then under it, I wrote a list of goals that I want to accomplish. And up until a few weeks ago, I had pretty much given 2020 a last nod, and I figured it was a waste of all of my time. But in finding this and reading everything that I wanted to accomplish, I realized that I did do everything on my list, just in a way that wasn't expected. I had a bit of tunnel vision about what the 6 Bs should be. And so today, I'm just going to encourage all of you to look for something that you figured was lost in your life and use the 6 Bs. Be of service, be first, be in the moment, be curious, be on purpose, and be grateful, to reclaim that for yourselves.
Thank you so much, Maren. I'm certainly going to take that to heart today. Thank you for sharing. Now I'd like to introduce our guests today. We have quite a few. Welcome to everyone. L.A. Williams is here from Smithville Communications and Ivy Tech adjunct professor. Suzanne Owen has joined us, independent writing and editing professional and wife of the late Bloomington Rotarian Kent Owen. Welcome, Suzanne. Steve Hinfeld is here, IU Media School faculty member. Welcome, Steve. Claire Dahlman, IU Speak Senior, studying public affairs with a concentration in nonprofit management and leadership, has joined us, a guest of Hank Hijema. Welcome, Claire. Susan Adams has joined us from the New Albany Rotary Club and is a guest of Jim Bright. And Crystal Long has joined us. Anyone else that I didn't catch today?
Hi, I'm Julia Lentz. I just messaged you guys within this last week and decided to participate today. So, hey.
Julia, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
And he's a longtime Rotarian, but I think we need to say a special hi to Tim Thrasher because we don't see him regularly. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim. Welcome. So glad to have you. All right. I think that's all of our guests today. So welcome. And if you want to know more about Rotary, you can ask the person that invited you or anyone here. Thanks to our producers, Michael Shermis, Kyla Cox-Deckard, and Natalie Blaise this week for helping us run everything smoothly. And our roundabout reporter for the week is Owen Johnson. Membership anniversaries: Dick McCaig, 35 years, Jack McCrory, 34 years, and Phil Eskew, 39 years. Thank you so much for your service to Rotary. Phil Eskew, is that 39 years of perfect attendance?
Actually, I joined in January, so my anniversary is this coming January, and that will make 40 years. So I don't know where you got 39 today, but I joined on like January the 11th or so, and I will certainly let you know.
Okay.
I hit 40 years of perfect attendance.
What an accomplishment. Thank you. I think the date today is when you joined the Bloomington Rotary Club, possibly.
Possibly.
We have some Rotarians in the news. Tim Jessen offered the column entitled "Hallowed Eve is Good Time to Restore Death as Part of Life" in the HT last week. His piece featured a discussion on hospice and conscious dying and information about Rotarian Joy Harder's training to become a death doula. You can check it out. It's a great read, and thank you so much, Tim, for offering that piece. Jim Bright was featured in a fabulous interview profile on People of IU. He was interviewed by Sankalp Sharma. Jim made a case for the incredible connections and advantages awaiting those who hold their end of the deal by attending IU with intention to get the most out of their experience. He also made a plug for Rotary, stating that Rotary membership opens many doors in the local community and globally. Congratulations, Jim. It was quite the feature and very, very well deserved. And now, Phil, would you like to share a quick toast announcement with us?
Well, obviously the toast is this Friday at 7 o'clock. Those of you that have signed up should be getting information from Mandolin as to how to access the toast. I'm very pleased to report that we have 75 members of our club that have signed up. And so that's 70% of our membership. There's still time if you'd like to do this. So I'm very pleased to report that an overwhelming majority of our club has joined the Rotary Toast, which will really be special. So if you haven't signed up, there's still time. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. You can get a ticket by midnight tonight at rotarytoast.com to receive a charcuterie board with your viewing. If anyone is,
How do we do that? What is that? The charcuterie board.
Did you already have a ticket, Charlotte?
Yes, I have a $100 ticket.
Charlotte, I'll be happy to pick that up for you and drop it off. I'm going to do that for some other friends as well. So I'll drop it by your place on Friday, late afternoon or early evening.
Awesome. Thank you. If anyone is interested in learning more about global grants, there's an opportunity for a qualifying webinar tomorrow at 4:30. I'm going to be hopping on. If you'd like to join me, let me know today. Ryla had a successful event on Halloween. Over 20 students joined Lauren Snyder and the Bradford Woods staff for a fun day of learning about leadership, teamwork, and more. They're hoping that next year they'll be back in person with their regular outdoor extravaganza to learn about leadership. But this year they had a successful time over Zoom. We have two sad pieces of news to share today. Jim Shea's mother, Mary Helen Shea, passed away on October 30th at the age of 93. Our condolences to Jim and his entire family. He's in our thoughts and loved deeply by your Rotary family. Also, immediate past President Aaron Davis's younger brother, Gary, passed away on October 31st at the age of 66. Aaron, we're deeply sorry for your loss and are holding you and Martha and your family in our hearts today and always. Now I'd like to tell you about some volunteering services that we have coming up. Wheeler Mission always has opportunities. They have some winter volunteer opportunities available. They're seeking a committee for their Silent Night, Silent Auction on December 10th as well. So email Josie Rice at wheelermission.org to sign up. You should have received an email about Salvation Army bell ringing. The first opportunity is November 28th. So please sign up for one of those spots. It's always a good time. And it's very safe. And you're going to be wearing a mask and interacting with people to raise some money for a very needed cause. United Way Day of Action Literacy Backpacks. We still have spots available for the December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th assembly dates. That'll be at United Way. We're putting together 600 backpacks, bookmarks, and other things that go inside the backpacks. So please sign up. This was our district grant and we need all the support we can get, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The link is the Civic Champs link. So if you need any support with that, please ask Natalie or myself and we'll be happy to help. And now, Happy Dollars. We haven't had Happy Dollars for a few weeks, so I hope that you've been saving up all your good things to share. And who would like to start? Jim Bright.
I'm so happy to have with us today Susan Adams from the New Albany Rotary Club. The idea for our Rotary Toast actually originated with New Albany. New Albany's been doing theirs for some 25 years and they've generated lots of good money for agencies there. So Susan and some other New Albany Rotarians are going to join us on Friday because this year they were forced to cancel theirs because of COVID. So we elected to go on with ours, as you know, and we're going to do ours virtually. Keep our fingers crossed and hope it comes out as well as it has the last 5 years. But welcome, Susan.
And this is Glenda, I have Happy Dollars because I see Ron Jensen, who's been under the weather, and Tim Thrasher. And so I'm really thrilled to see longtime friends from Rotary.
I'm Raj. This is the news of last week. I celebrated then, but no Happy Dollar was.
Yes.
And I celebrated today. There are two occasions happened in Indiana last week. The least of the two, Indiana University, won its football game and was highly ranked within the top 20. That's great news. I give $10 for that. And the best news for last week is the announcement by Sally that Ashley is ready to get married. That is the news the Rotary Club been waiting for so long. It brought a smile and happiness to me, and I honor that with the $25.
Thank you so much, Raj.
This is Sarah. I've got $10. Actually, make it 26 because I'm keeping the list of emails to send to Mandolin for the toast, and this week we added 26 Rotaract emails, thanks to Maren. And they will, in the past, Rotaract has helped us with coat check and registration desk activities, and they wanted to be involved this year, but I had no idea there were 26 members of the Rotaract Club. And so they'll be viewing the toast, and we hope you enjoy yourself as our guests.
This is Charlotte. And last week we talked about free coffee for the people standing in line voting. And I wanted to celebrate that. So this is in honor of the $10 in honor of the generous anonymous somebody or other, woman or man, who has been giving free coffee to those standing in line for the election.
Hello.
Hi, Gus.
I want to put in 20 happy dollars. Connie and I celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary last month.
Wow.
Connie is actually out interviewing somebody right now. And it's been 18 years of wonderfulness, even though it seems like 48, but I mean that in a good way. And at the end of this month, we're actually going to celebrate 7 years since we moved to Bloomington from New York. 7 years have gone by really quickly. So thank you for that.
This is Hank. I would like to pledge $20 in honor of our guest, Claire Dalman, who is competing for the Rotary Internet Global Scholarship. Maybe Claire, you can say hello to the club so they all see you pop up. If you unmute yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Hank. And hi, everybody. I'm Claire. It's so great to be here and get to learn more about you. Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, Claire last visited us when we had another really good speaker, and that was First Lady Laurie Burns McRobbie. It was back on February 25th. And of course, about 2 weeks later, we shut things down. We've been meeting by Zoom ever since. But I know Claire joins me and looking forward to hearing today's speaker, fellow Rotarian Judy DeMuth. So welcome, Claire.
Ashley, can I say something?
Yes, of course.
I'd like to give a happy dollar to announce that my granddaughter Harper is going to be a big sister around May 5th.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Grandma.
I was busy now.
Well, we'll try not to give you too much to do. Congratulations. Any other happy dollars? All right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. It was good to be back in the happy space. So we'll make sure we have that every week unless we have a really packed agenda. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Michael Shermis to introduce our speaker for today.
Wonderful.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Oops, I lost my... Suddenly you lose things when you have too many screens open at one time, and that's just what happened to me. Hold on just a second here. And it's still gone. Okay. I'm not panicking. I promise I'm not panicking.
Are we losing Judy? Is that what it's saying?
Yeah, just a second here. I'm just not sure why my machine went crazy.
Michael, this is Judy DeMuth. I'll be glad to introduce myself. How about that?
Yeah, I just lost it, but I was going to say all sorts of good things, but I had them written down. Yeah. Please do.
I'll tell the real story. Okay, thank you. Really, what a pleasure.
Ashley.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. What a pleasure to be here today. I've had the great honor of serving as your superintendent for 10 years now. It's hard to imagine. Time has just gone by so quickly. I've been a longtime educator. I'm starting into my 45th year. And I can honestly say that the topic I'm going to talk with you about today is probably the most difficult situation I've ever handled in 45 years. And I think we can all say that, if it's from just a personal perspective and or a job perspective. It's been extremely difficult for everyone, and particularly for our families and our children. And I think that's what has made it so difficult. And I'm going to come back to that just a little later, because I want to stress the importance of the decisions we made and the stress that we were under, and why I think this is probably the most challenging and difficult decisions that we've had to make, or I've had to make. So on Friday, March 13th, Indiana Public Schools were basically shut down. We could have stayed home open another week or so, but in conjunction with the Monroe County Health Department, felt it in our best interest, and particularly the safety interest of our children and our staff, that we shut down. And we saw that all across the world, in the United States, obviously. From March to May, do you want to go ahead and show a screen? We're going to share a screen here and try to go through a timeline with you. But Michael, can you control the share screen piece?
You have the ability to share screen right now, Judy. There you go.
Thank you. So in March to May, we were thinking and worried and really working diligently to make sure that we could continue our quality education through May 7th. We had changed our calendar a little bit and made a decision that because of the taxing situation that this whole thing had put on our families, our teachers, we were going to go ahead and complete the waiver process that the state allowed us to have to complete the year May 7th. What we had to do in that time period of closing down and then starting online education was basically revolutionize the way teachers taught, the technology teachers used, how we fed children, and how we dealt with children at a social emotional level because of all the confusion and concerns that our families had. It became extremely challenging, and we had to have a lot of resources to help them. So as you can see on the screen, computers, iPads, hotspots, bus Wi-Fis, we had to make sure that every child had access to continue their education. We made major purchases quickly. We harassed providers to get all of the technology we needed. Many of our children did not have technology and could not access us. So we needed to put our buses in strategic places with Wi-Fi, and then also to provide what's called MiFis, so they did have that touch point or that access point. Now, interestingly, we learned a lot, because what we realized was that if there isn't a tower in the area, we can have as much Wi-Fi's, hotspots, and everything else, but if there's no tower, we can't connect. So for those children, we had to work directly by phone, and that's pretty much what we did to supply their education. The food piece became very big because, as most of you know, many of our children rely on us for breakfast, lunch, backpack buddies over the weekend. And we had to quickly put that all in action so that we could make sure that our families and our children were fed. We did that within a week of being closed down. And then also the wraparound services to maintain the social emotional being of our children became very complex, because basically we were working with the entire family. We had many families, as you can well imagine, as many of you may have been challenged with, who this really put a very taxing situation on their world, particularly in the areas of childcare, work, obligations, and safety. Okay. We began ordering, I already talked about some technology, but as you can well imagine, we were not stocked with PPE, masks, face shields, cleaning items were unbelievable. And of course, everybody in the world was doing the same kind of ordering. So that presented its challenges. We had misters that we used for the classrooms to spray them down. And then we had to think about all the hand washing, looking at the precautions, masks, hand washing, social distancing, over and over and over again. What will it take us to do these things? We created hand washing stations for outside. We created clear dividers for students and staff to use when as needed. We had to prepare for social distancing in schools and on buses. And outside structures. We knew that in time, we'd probably have to go outside, and that would probably be the best situation. And then, of course, we had to hire people for intense cleaning. Now, we were shut down and we were virtual, But as we were virtual, all these things were going on because very quickly, the state of Indiana, Department of Education with Jennifer McCormick put together a guide called In Class. And we followed that guide. And the impetus for that guide was to get schools open as quickly as possible. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. And then, of course, we planned for virtual graduation and talk about disappointing all those things that our kids deserve, that we cherish in our own lives and as families. We couldn't provide for our kids. So how are we going to do that in a way to honor them, but then create a situation where they, can remember it forever? And I'm certainly, they will remember it, but it certainly wasn't the way we wanted to honor them. But we did have virtual graduations. Okay. So the communications, as I mentioned, In Class was trying to put quickly a plan together for every school in the state of Indiana to try to reopen as quickly as possible. And the reasons for that are that most of our staff members have been trained in face-to-face instruction. I kept telling our principals, that's our bread and butter. That's what we do best. We service our kids and educate our kids best when they are with us. And so In Class was, kind of helping us, guide us in terms of putting a process and a plan together to keep our students and staff safe. So we were getting our guidance from the State Department of Education, the State Department of Health, the Monroe County Health Department. Numerous community meetings were held and numerous teacher staff meetings were held. We put together a comprehensive reentry and recovery plan. And during the time that we did that, and you're going to see some of our committees because we had numerous people on those committees. What we learned during that time as we were doing this is that we had closed down the school year. We were conducting virtual summer school, and we had one of the largest summer schools ever this past summer. And on top of it, our community was clamoring for childcare. Because as you can imagine, many families, parents who work 2 and 3 jobs, rely on us for all kinds of things, but particularly childcare, because they couldn't afford childcare. No one was providing childcare. Our buildings were closed by the state through August 1st. So we could not provide childcare. I sat week after week, and sometimes twice a week, talking with community partners about how we could put child care together for people, because we had a lot of people who had to work, had to go back to work. All of our health professionals needed child care. Many of our companies were open, and then stores started reopening, and all those folks needed child care. And it was probably one of the most difficult things I did was to listen over and over to the need for childcare and not be able to provide it. Because as you know, a couple of years ago, we really took a big leap and opened up an early learning center. So we opened up a center that takes children 6 weeks to the age of 5. And so people were really asking, why aren't you opening that? We need you. We have to go back to work. So it was very difficult. So we put together an original reentry and recovery plan based on all the guidance we've been receiving. It was approved by the board in June. However, during that time, we were being guided to working with the health department as we reopened. And when we had COVID cases, we would work with them to make a decision on how to handle the COVID case and the close contact. Soon after, the state announced that they were going to provide, or they were going to do contact tracing. We didn't even know what contact tracing was. And that was when there was a COVID patient that we assumed the state was going to do the tracing. But quite frankly, what has happened is when there's a COVID student or staff member, we do the tracing. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So we came back with a metric that met the needs of the people who were telling us you've got to have something in black and white, so to speak, that people can understand when you're going to go to everybody online for learning, when you're going to do a hybrid, which means we were alternating children in and out. You may go to class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and be online Tuesday, Thursday, and or when all students would return. So we had to do a lot of work between June 30th and July 28th to come up with a metric that could be seen or visual, people in the community could understand how we were making our decisions. The reentry plan was really focused on keeping students and staff safe. That was our main goal. That continues to be our goal. This morning I was in a meeting. They said, how long will this last? I said, hey, if I knew that, I wouldn't be in this role. The bottom line, it's going to last as long as we have to make it last to make sure everybody's safe. The Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Music Association, ISMA, it governs extracurriculars. And as you can well imagine, as the school year began, there was this big push to make sure our kids were involved in those extracurriculars, which became very difficult because we were trying to open up schools and knew how much work and effort it took to do that, and just couldn't fathom having kids in athletics and band and orchestra and band and choir. So we had to work very diligently to try to provide as safe as environment as possible for those students to be able to participate, recognizing that those two organizations gave us kind of another group, if you will, to handle the liability that we are going to be confronted with. Because at the end of the day, we're kind of tiptoeing around a lot of liability, and we all know that as a school corporation. So again, contact tracing became our responsibility, which means when we have a COVID situation, a person, a student, a staff member who has a designation as being COVID positive, then what we do is I've got 4 nurses at most of the time, who work 7 days a week to then trace who was near that COVID positive person. And that, if you back it up, what we've done is every classroom, every place students are, we have seating charts. We know what students seat and where at lunch. We know where they are as they go to the restroom. We have to monitor them because if we do have a COVID positive situation, we have to be able to know who was near that staff member or student. So as you can well imagine, it's very controlled. It's taken a lot of time for the planning. We control students walking down hallways. Social distancing is critically important, as are masks, and then continual hand washing during the course of the day. The metrics committee, as they put this metric together in that 4-week time span, met weekly, and we continue to monitor the metrics daily. Although for the public, you'll see we'll have a major meeting like every 3 weeks or so to reinstate the current metric and or move forward in a different learning path. The metrics committee was comprised of the number of people that you see. And one addition to that we're really proud of is that Dr. Box, you see her, you saw her on TV weekly, you still do. And Dr. Weaver, who is the doctor who oversees the entire state, joined on with us because of the complexity we were experiencing with people being upset with us about not acknowledging Indiana University tests or acknowledging their tests. And there was a lot of rhetoric about that and what we should be doing. So they joined on with us to help guide our processes. The plan was finally approved in August. We delayed the start of the school year till the 12th, and we started online. We moved to a hybrid online and in-person options on the 8th, so people could, we tried to get as many people as possible in the hybrid model. Many of our families chose online. And then we did have some in person. We moved to a 5-day per week and online option on October 12th, which means our students are now able to attend 5 days per week. And we have probably, last I looked, we have about 38% of our students online and the rest of them in person. The guidance, as I said, came through many, many areas, and I can't say enough about all these folks that you see in front of you because we had a lot of great input into our plans. Okay. And then the original student and staff reentry committee, these were all the teachers and all the folks that joined for grueling conversation on how we were going to bring our students back in person. And then the metric committee, this is a group of the folks that just, again, agonized over how we could put a metric together that people would understand, and it was simple, and it responded to the needs of the community and telling people what learning situation we were in at the time and what the metrics of the community were. So the learning status, as you can see here, we tried to simplify it by green. If we go into a green learning status, we're all in person. We continue our online option. So that 40% of our students who are online could continue. If we go into yellow, our elementary is 5 days in person. Our secondary goes to a hybrid with alternating days by alphabet. And if we get into a situation where our metrics show red, then we are red and all of our students go online. The re-entry metrics are, like I said, monitored daily. You know, we're always watching the metrics. In fact, the whole state we're watching. But you can see we're relying on what's called percent positivity, positive cases per day, positive cases per day. And this is the per 100,000 you probably read about. How long does it take for our tests to turn around? How quickly can we, you know, process the tests and then get the results? And then the contact tracing, how long is it taking us? So the metric committee meets formally every 2 to 3, 4 weeks, and they'll come up on that day, and you can see the dates that are there and show the various pieces or how we analyze what that metric is on that given day. And then we give our community the learning status. Now, again, I want to repeat that if students, families feel that they need to be online, then we continue that throughout whatever learning status it is. So we continue that part. Many of our families could not handle the online piece. It was very difficult for them. They had to work. And so they really wanted to make sure that their kids got back in school. And that's why we tried to push forward to open the school safely so that our children could get the learning and the education that those families needed for them. There was a lot of, you know, input, question about using all tests versus unique individual at that time. You can see a statement by Lindsay Weaver, who is our medical officer, and she again worked with us continually as we put this together. And then we use a stoplight to kind of show what our community, you know, what learning status we are in. And I think that the most difficult part of this, I have to say, has been making sure that we use these precautions and the involvement or the people that we have into our buildings to make sure those people understand all the screening procedures, what kinds of expectations they have when the kids come in. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's a very sterile environment. You know, the first couple of weeks we brought kids back into the building, principals were calling me saying, this is horrible. You know, it's so sterile. It's not the kind of camaraderie our kids deserve. But at the end of the day, it's the safest way we could have kids back into the building. we have our metrics committee meetings. Our contact tracing is 7 days a week. And the reason it's 7 days a week is, kids or families have become COVID, or they know that they're COVID positive, possibly on a Friday night, a Saturday, or a Sunday. We get the call and we are on going through contact tracing and seeing who is near them so that we can turn that around that day or the next day. So we can get those kids quarantined or those adults quarantined so they don't come back into the building. The social emotional wellness of our staff and our students has been really intense. As you can imagine with your families, there's just a lot going on, and we had to make sure that we had our support structures in place to handle our kids and our staff members, quite frankly. Because as most of you probably know, I think that's what's made this decision the hardest I've ever experienced. Typically, we'll say things like, we're going to do our very best to make sure our students and staff are safe, that they feel that they have a real onus in the school corporation. And quite frankly, we had a lot of staff members who were, I'm going to say, really concerned about coming back, really concerned for their safety, really concerned for student safety. And those were real feelings. And so, from my perspective, I think that's what's made this decision so horribly difficult. It's the first time in my life I had to make a decision where kids had to take a priority and the needs of the family versus our staff members. And that was extremely difficult. It was grueling because you never really want to do that. We've never had to do that. But again, a lot of our staff members were concerned about safety for them and their families. And that was very real. We're trying to create a semblance of normal school activities. We are taking every precaution that we can. All of our clubs are virtual at this point in time. We do have some robotic kids that are just unbelievably talented, and they're going to have some competition. So we're thinking about possibly allowing them to start to do some work in an in-person environment. But that staff member then would be responsible for making sure that those kids were socially distanced consistently and that all the protocols were met. And of course, our number one priority is educating our children. And, again, that's been extremely difficult because our teachers weren't accustomed to, changing on a dime, so to speak, and moving into a virtual environment, and then continuing in that environment and making sure that we are achieving the top quality education that, again, our kids deserve. So all of that kind of is a very quick snapshot of what we've been involved in for the last number of months. So what does that get you? That gets you, looking forward, a new superintendent. So here we go. We do have a search calendar for the new superintendent. As most of you probably know, I did retire last year, but when this hit, I certainly knew and appreciated the fact that a new person it would be very difficult for a new person for many reasons. I mean, you've read about a lot of reasons in the paper, I'm sure. But again, it's been very stressful and very difficult. So I felt, in all honesty, if I could put something together and the new person come in, hopefully after we have a vaccine, hopefully all this is behind us, it would be just a really good situation for them. So here is a calendar. The board has chosen BWP, and Ron Barnes is a member of Rotary. He's chairing this committee, and you can see the timeline for the superintendent search. You can see the interview date, so beginning of December. So if you have any folks that you know out there that would like to apply for this position, it's the best in the state. Please do encourage them to apply. And then we also have our desired qualifications. All this is on our website for the new superintendent, and you can kind of take a look at those as we move through those. But again, it's a fantastic position to be in. a wonderful community, as you all know, and it's really because of people like you that make it that way. But again, this has been a very challenging time. And again, keeping our children and their needs for education and their family needs has been our top priority. And so with that, then we'd like to try to show a video real quickly here, because our teachers have really gone to the mat on this. They have worked extremely hard. It's been unbelievable what they've had to do, and we can't thank them enough.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of, when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of, when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah.
Dr. DeMuth, can I do a quick introduction that I didn't get to do, just so that people know who you are? So Dr. Judith A. DeMuth has been superintendent of the Monroe County Community School Corporation for 10 years. While there, she has lots of accomplishment in expanding the curriculum to include a focus on science, technology, engineering, arts and math, foreign languages, dual immersion programs, a performing arts academy, in support of an environment, art, resources, and health school. New Tech Academy was transferred into the Academy of Science and Entrepreneurship. AGEM's Girl in Engineering's Math Science program was initiated along with an early learning center service serving children 6 weeks through the age of 5. Schools have received numerous accolades and awards during her tenure. She has also served as the president of the Region 4 Indiana Public School Study Council. She is a LaPorte Chamber Athena Award winner, recipient of the Bloomington Chamber's Franklin's Initiative 2016 Lifetime Achievement Award, 2017 Bloomington Woman of the Year, and received the Indiana University School of Education 2018 Distinguished Alumni Award. My question to you is, what are you going to do to follow all this up in retirement?
Well, make no, seriously, it's such an honor to have been here. I'll miss all the people, all the kids, all the activities, but I'm really looking forward to, right now I have 6 grandchildren. I'm hoping for more. And so that's where I'm going to be spending my time. So looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing that wonderful presentation. Does anyone have any additional questions for Judy?
There are a couple in the chat, Ashley, in case.
Okay, I see one here. The swimming world has seen numerous articles about the fact that the Indiana Swim Club is not able to use the Bloomington South Pool, although other swim teams have been able to use high school pools in Indiana. Why has the MCCSC policy been different?
So one of the things that we did pretty quickly on was working with the health departments and particularly with the state. They went into really a lot of information about trying to keep kids self-contained in small groups. And so those children are, during the course of the day, in the same groups as much as possible. We closed our doors to parents, to visitors, and to all outside groups. Because of the extensive cleaning that has to be done, we just could not afford to have outside groups using our facilities when we had to make sure that they are really just in the top-notch cleanliness of all when we bring our children back. And that has become 7 days per week. Like I said, we're contact tracing, we're working with COVID. And so we could not open facilities to any outside groups because quite frankly, we've not opened our facilities up to our inside groups yet. So we're controlling this. Our parents are counting on us. Our families are counting on us to keep those kids safe and our staff members safe. And we've taken that very seriously.
Thank you. Michael, I don't see an additional question in the chat. Do you have one?
Yeah, I got a couple that came to me. One from Jim Bright. Thank you for your partnership with Rotary in support of Teachers Warehouse. Your thoughts about the value of Teachers Warehouse to students and teachers?
Oh my gosh, incredible. I remember I was superintendent at Richland Bean Blossom when that just opened, and what a fantastic idea. And it really came to fruition, and Rotary in supporting it these last number of years has just been, I can't tell you the money that our teachers save, the creativity that they are instilled with when they just walk through the warehouse, because they get all kinds of great ideas from all the things that are there. And so it's not only been like cost saving, but also you've inspired teachers to use the things that were there to do really creative things in the classroom. So thank you.
And while we transition, which I assume you're going to do in a second, Ashley, you should read all the comments in the chat, Judy, because they are quite nice to you.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Overwhelming support and gratitude for your leadership.
Thank you.
Do you have a few moments to stay after for any additional questions?
Yes, sure.
Okay, great. As you, in honor of our presentation today, we'll be giving a donation to Amethyst House in your name. So thank you for speaking to us. And I want to give an update about what next week's program is going to look like. On November 10th, we have the Business Outlook panel here on Zoom, but it will be a different link. So don't come to this link to join our Rotary meeting. It will be the Business Outlook panel. You'll receive the information to log on in an email this week. It'll also be in the roundabout, and you'll receive another reminder next week. So you'll have plenty of opportunities to get the correct link for our meeting next week. But it's going to be a fantastic event where we're going to hear about the current affairs in Bloomington and the world beyond. So please join us next week and look in your email for those reminders. Michael, will you share the four-way test graphic so that we can recite that together? Of the things we think, say, and do. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
Build goodwill and better friendships. And
fourth,
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and
Fifth,
fifth,
is
is
it
it
fun?
fun? Thank you. Okay, we have an additional question here for Judy.